Hey, welcome to another exciting episode of In the Chute, where Calen tries to give me some thing to give a perspective on. I'm not short of opinion, so go ahead, Calen.
We just got done last week talking about thoughts on some of our guests joining us for the branding process. This week is the next process that which we finished with kind of the sorting and everything that Dad had talked about. We took one herd and they went to one specific pasture. The other herd got sorted out with their calves and sent to a lease that we have a couple miles down the road with their respective bulls, and they water up on a natural spring, they graze the grass, and then at the end of the summer we pull them in, take all the calves, and we send them to market. The process of sorting, it can be painful, but a more important process in this particular year was painful. I was a little irritated and impatient. I will self admit that one, but it was the mothering up process. And I wanted to talk to Dad what the importance of the mothering up process is, why you got to do it right the first time, and what are some of the kinks that typically come in and hinder it or cause further issues that you're sitting there beating your head against the saddle horn because it's just that dumb or that frustrating. So with that, I'll
Yeah.
throw it over to you.
Well, you got to understand calf and cow behavior first. And that is that when you move a cow and a calf, if it's just a pair, they're together. Doesn't matter. Cow and calf stays together. The calf just kind of follows along and they're aware of each other. When you gather a bunch of them up, say a whole herd, and you've got 100 pair, and you're pushing them along, and pretty soon these calves get a little bit tired and they'll lag back and they lose each other. They don't they don't realize that they're still in the same herd, and so their protective mechanism is to go back to where they last nursed. And these calves will go through fences. They'll find their way back, and so will the cows. The cows will try to get back if they can. A calf squirt through a fence, reasonably easy at times, depending on the fence. But the whole idea of that is when you get to where you want to go, you stop and you let those cattle find each other again, or we call it mother up, where the cow and calf can find each other and they go, oh, hi, it's you. Good. Hey, mom, I'm hungry. And they nurse, and then it's like everything's all happy again. Well, if you just take these animals to water, and you have to take them to water because they don't necessarily know where water's at, especially the new ones into a new pasture, never been there before. They have no idea. They know where they did water, and they'll try to get back to it. They can smell water, but you know some of these younger cattle are not the brightest bulbs in the pack. So you got to take them to water, get them so that they know where to go, where they can eat, where they can drink, and get the calves mothered up. So you take them to water typically, and we got a really nice spot there where there's a couple springs on that lease, and it's kind of in a little bit of a bowl. The spring kind of meanders down to it, and so I like to hold them up there on that water. There's lush grass. These cows will stand there and graze mostly, but they're also looking at fresh grass as they move. So we try to hold these cows back and let these calves find the cows, because the cows they're careless about where they left this calf, and they could care less about if that calf's even there when they're grabbing fresh grass. And a new pasture, fresh grass, that's man, that they're loving it. So you got to try to hold these cows back, let these cows and calves find each other. When they pair up, then you can kind of kick them off. And there's a double-edged sword there. If you let a cow and calf kind of wander off, the rest of the herd goes, hey, I'm moving, I want to go too. And so whether they got a calf with them or not, they'll try to do that. So you got a couple of choices. You can do that kind of a limited amount, especially towards the end of where you're getting them mothered up, where most of the herd is done. You can start kicking them loose a little bit if you want. It helps to have a lot of people. That way you can kick some loose and still hold the herd. But for us, there was only two of us on horseback, and this spring you can't get across this low part with like your mom was in Greg and Bert were in the side by side. You can't get that across there, so they really can't help much. And then so you try to stay ahead of them, try to hold them back, and it's frustrating at times. And you're still kind of, with these girls, we were still kind of moving a little bit. We were just moving slower so that these calves could
Yeah.
could catch up. And when you're doing that alone, I had you this year to help when I'm doing that alone, because a lot of times your brother's gone fighting fire by this time. Um, it's frustrating, and some swear words may or may not come out of my horse's mouth. Sounds like me, but it's my horse. It really is.
Yeah.
So it's very, very frustrating, because the consequences are these calves go back, and now they'll try to get through fences, and they're
Right.
maybe into a pasture of the neighbors that you don't want them in, and they don't want them there. And so, you're just trying to make sure that everybody gets with everybody. And it sounds easy. It's not necessarily that easy. It's a challenge sometimes. So it's a real pain in the butt.
Well, and there were two specific challenges we had this year that really irritated me. The first was we talked about it, I think, in a short episode, was that two of the little buggers, the little calves, as soon as we got through the gate into the lease area, so we were in the final pasture, but we were just pushing them just a little further to water. They decided right then and there they were turning around and going back to where they last nursed.
Yeah.
And I got really irritated. It took me 4 or 5 tries to get them turned around, because they kept, I'd push them and get close to the herd, and then they turn around and bolt back to the corner. And so I'm on my horse, who also, let's be clear here, is not the soundest in terms of abilities physically, because she's been injured twice growing up. She decided to run herself into the fence enough that she hurt her hip and she hurt her shoulder, and I have to worry about her shoulder sometimes, and I got to be careful riding her because she'll stumble. And it's
She's a
just how
great
she
horse.
is.
Other than that,
Yeah, she's great, but she goes, you just got to go nice and easy so that you don't try and, accidentally stumble. And I had to try and get her to lope a couple of times to get in front of these calves. I'm like, please don't stumble, please don't stumble. Yeah, like just stuff like that, and then trying to get them to not go through the fence, because I was trying to beat them to the fence, and then they'd want to, they looked through it, and they did. I looked in their eyes, they were thinking it a couple of times, like, can I squeeze through here fast enough? And I was able to get them off the fence, and finally we got them to the herd, but I was really irritated with that one. And then the second one was when mom came up with the side by side to the top of the hill. The cows saw her, and we had a good amount of them had been mothered up. And when she did that, the cows left their calves, and we had to restart over again. I was really upset about that one. I'm not gonna lie, but I know mom wasn't really thinking about the potential repercussions of that one. She just didn't think about it. She's like, "Oh, they're fine."
she was trying to help. Yeah, because she saw we were at the end and thought, oh, I'll just put a little bit of grain out here, slow these cows down, because we'd gotten most, I bet you 3/4 of them were mothered up, so it wasn't going to take that much more to get the rest of them. And it wasn't that we were going to lose the ones that had mothered up and what they would be a problem. It's just that now these cows are all introduced back into a smaller herd, which was easier to mother up those, and it just caused chaos again. And as soon as she did it, she realized what she had done, and was like, bad. I think I might have said you're a bad toad or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to just kind of laugh. It's frustrating. You just got to kind of laugh and like, well, what'd you learn by that? And she was truly just absolutely trying to do the right thing. And
it didn't make it better. It did not make it feel better. I knew what she was trying to do, but no. But yeah,
don't ever tell her that we're talking about this, and don't ever let her see this episode. We'll be okay.
That's on your end. That's not on mine. I just produced the stuff. And
she'll go, fine. You don't like my help? I'll never help you again. No, she's not. I don't think
she'd be that dramatic. But
she's not like, no, she's not dramatic at all.
But yeah, that's it. That's the importance of mothering up. Some of the problems we have, particularly this year,
with your mother.
Listen, all she does is, her best way of getting me to mother up is offer beer. I'm like, oh, hey, hi mom, how's it going?
Yeah, beer and food. You boys are both alike.
Yep. All right, with that, we will put that conversation out to pasture.